Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Because it's the final day on the bus. And my name is Bobby Skinner, and I'm here with Nick Falato. But that shit doesn't matter if we're not live. So let us know if we are live, because we want to talk about the Giants' joint practice with the New York Jets. I am seeing that we are live. The people are saying that we are live. And this camera, I'm gonna mess with this camera a little bit. How's that? There you go. I don't have to duck to get in shot
I
now.
think you look great, Bobby.
I think you look better, Nick Falato.
Oh, that's very nice.
All right, so we end of training camp practices for me. 12 down, 2 joint practices with the Jets. I will say the joint practices the last 2 years with the Lions were a little more exciting, and I get my mic in front of my face, because I thought we saw two offenses. One, we saw, I think, two good defenses. I think the Jets didn't play their best players today. They had no Sauce Gardner, Quentin Williams, and Jermaine Johnson, which I think are their three best players. Maybe Jermaine Johnson's fourth or fifth, but they're a talented group. And then the Giants, I think their defense can be pretty good too. And you have two offenses who are not. I don't think the Jets' offense is going to be good. And then the Giants' offense could be decent, but it's missing like the most key players, like no Malik Neighbors, no Andrew Thomas. Illuminor wasn't out there today. And I think Slayton was just kind of in and out. I mean, they had Lil Jordan Humphrey and Gunnar Olszewski getting first team reps. So, like, they were very limited. So it's hard to take, like, these big, like these huge takeaways of, like, oh, the offense is this or the offense is that. But I am getting a little more excited about the defense. And I know you focus on the defense today.
Yes, today I watched the defense. Yesterday it was the offense. Excuse me. The offense was rough yesterday, to say the least. The Jets defense definitely won that day. But to speak on today's practice, it was just pretty much consistent pressure from the Giants against the Jets. And a lot of the throws that Justin Fields ended up getting off or got off, I would say there were probably going to be sacks by either Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, Chauncey Golston. And the Giants in this practice, they didn't have Tay Banks. They were rotating D. Williams and Nick Jones, and Raheem Lane ended up playing a lot because Tyler Nubin left practice. So their secondary was relatively weak or filled with roster bubble type of players, but it didn't really matter. Now, I'm really excited about the Giants defense for all the reasons that your show and my show, Big Blue Banter, have been speaking about all offseason. But at the same time, I do look at the Jets offense, specifically their passing attack, and I don't think they're going to be all that great this year. So I'm trying to keep my expectations a little bit tempered, although I am excited about this pass rush.
Well, yeah, the pass rush, like the Jets' offensive line, Olu Fashanu, I really like him, and I thought he had a solid rookie season. Armand Membou's, he's a rookie, but nonetheless, he's a top 10 pick. I'm not sure if Elijah Vera Tucker was practicing.
Yeah,
he was practicing. Tippmann is a center that they really like. Like that offensive line, and they were getting consistent, and that's limiting what Dexter Lawrence is doing too. Where Dexter Lawrence he's getting more snaps than he has before in training camp, but he's not a full go. And that's the consistent pressure that you're looking for, right? Where the Giants have been streaky. Like last year, they were streaky, right? They had some 7-sack games where they got after it, but they weren't a team that was getting consistent pressure outside of Dexter Lawrence. Brian Burns had, multiple games where he didn't affect the quarterback. Kayvon Thibodeau, multiple games where he didn't affect the quarterback. Azeez Ojulari had some good sack numbers, but he wasn't affecting it consistently. And that's why, like, if things go right for the Giants this year and they're able to win games, I really think that's the thing, is like that pass rush, it has the ability to win games consistently, where you don't need great offensive play. You don't even need great secondary play. You're not going to be one of the best teams in the NFL, but you can take advantage of some bad teams or teams that aren't great, then they're just in that middle range.
It's quite apt, too, because we had Russell Wilson and Justin Fields on the field today, and I think the Giants might have to replicate what the Pittsburgh Steelers were able to do over the last few seasons. And last year they had both those quarterbacks in-house. Just very strong defensive performance with an offense that you hope gives them some leads to allow the defense to do what they do, pin their ears back and get after the quarterback. And hopefully the Giants can shut the run down. And that's really what it comes down to defensively. Get the pass rush in a situation where it's 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, and shut that run down and not be a sieve defensively as they were at certain parts last season.
And we usually go offense, defense on this, but we're starting with defense today. What did you think of the overall run defense today? Because it's good to see them get challenged by a team that's not their own.
Yeah, so I thought the run defense was good today. Now, I'll say this and I'll preface it all by bringing up the 3 worst plays, and 2 of them were zone read plays by Justin Fields, who kept it. One of them probably would have went for a touchdown. The other one, 12-yard gain before the cornerback ended up cutting off the angle. And then there was a Braylon Allen run to the weak side where he outran TJ Moore, who was the starting cornerback for the New York Giants. And I think Allen probably would have scored a touchdown. That was like a 30-yard run. And I know it sounds bad, 3 long runs surrender, but 2 of them being zone reads, Bobby. When you're watching this first team and they're trying to hit the B gap and they're trying to hit the A gap, even when Dex wasn't there, the linebackers and the defense in general, they're flowing with the football. They're not over pursuing too much other than on that zone read. Burns crashed hard inside. I'm guessing there was a secondary player who was supposed to be that force contained defender. And for whatever reason, he wasn't there. I didn't exactly see what happened. But overall, with the personnel the Giants have, I think they did relatively well as a run defensive unit other than those 3 plays.
Yeah, and maybe the Giants are a terrible zone read defense this year, but I don't pay too much attention to that in practice because, one, you're not able to touch the quarterback, so he's able to just kind of take whatever angle he wants if he's got a step. And then number 2, like, the defenders are thinking, like, it's part of their thought process, like, I'm not touching the quarterback. And if you're playing a zone read team, it's going to be some game planning week to week where I don't think they're game planning for a Jets joint practice against Justin Fields. So it is encouraging to see because I had the defense in front of me, so I focused on them a little bit in the passing game. But when they hand it off, I made sure I get my focus back on the offensive field. It is good to see that because that's been my biggest worry of all training camp. You were on a stream about a week ago or so, and we kind of had similar thoughts on it, where it's like, Roy Robertson-Harris is getting pinned down by anyone he's facing. The linebackers aren't feeling, and then they didn't have Dexter Lawrence participating. So on top of it already being a worry, that just makes it like a possibly bad unit.
Yeah, and that's my biggest concern probably when it comes to this team and the secondary as well. And today, as I said, we're relying on Tay Banks to be a player, and that's a precarious situation to find yourself in. But you had Paulson Adebo out there and then a bunch of bubble guys just rotating in and out. And even with that, it's not like the Jets had a successful passing attack at all, and that's because of the Giants' pass rush.
Yeah, and like you said, the pass rush, it feels just wasn't accurate at all, throwing the ball down the field. And even some plays where it was like it would have been a sack and he still throws it, like he just wasn't able to hit those ones. And it doesn't seem like he's looking to push the ball. It's kind of what Justin Fields has been majority of his career, where it's like trying to take the safe throws, but even a little late to those. And then his legs are what makes him, which keeps giving him opportunities.
And a lot of those line drive passes that require some touch towards the sidelines that I kept seeing Justin Fields miss that I think could be problematic for the New York Jets this season. I'm pleased with what I saw defensively. I'll say this: I didn't get a lot of I didn't focus my attention on the 7-on-7s. They were on the other side of the field. I was watching the 1-on-1s with the offensive and the defensive line. But I heard it was red zone 7-on-7s, and I think Justin Fields was 4 of 7. All 4 of those were being touchdowns, but it was from, I think, the 10-yard line. So yeah. I'm not reading too much into that. There's no pass rush, but I just wanted to put that out there because I'm sure that can be gleaned as successful from Jet fans.
Yeah, I also just don't give a shit about 7-on-7s anymore as a football fan. Coming to training camp for 4 years now, where it is not real football at all. Like, you give a quarterback essentially no time limit, no pass rush, and nothing blocking his vision in the middle of the field. It's just something I'm not paying attention to. Even though I do pay attention to. I'm not having any big takeaways from it. I mean, I'm sitting here right now, I have my 7-on-7 numbers from this one. Bo Collins had a nice touchdown. It's good to see wide receiver DB 1-on-1s. That's about it.
Yeah.
So there's that. What do you think? Did you focus in or notice anything out of Paulson Adebo today? I know they don't just have him follow wide receiver 1, but it feels like Garrett Wilson's had a quiet couple of practices.
Yeah, I didn't focus solely on Paulson Adebo. Every time I saw 21 running around out there, he was in phase and he was doing what he was supposed to do. He is living up to my expectation to be the cornerback 1 that we hoped to receive. But I don't think Paulson Adebo is this shut down corner, but he's somebody that you can at least rely on to not get cooked game in and game out. And that's what I've noticed all throughout training camp. He's going to lose some to these star receivers like Malik Neighbors, which we have seen all throughout training camp, but it's not like he's getting embarrassed all the time. I wish we got to see Tay Banks today, though, Bobby, because I didn't get my eyes on him in yesterday's practice, and I saw Twitter was ablaze with Tay Banks takes, and I'm just not certain because I haven't had my eyes on him over the last 2 practices, one today because he didn't practice, and yesterday. And just thinking of the preseason game, look, he was in phase a lot, Tay Banks. It's not like he's getting cooked. It's just this guy cannot find the football if it was right in front of his face while it's in the air. So he has no aerial perception whatsoever.
No, and I just don't see that improving or improving enough to make it a big difference in who he is as a player. You mentioned Burns had a presser afterwards. I think he's had his 2 best days of practices, and maybe I repeated this at this beginning, but I think he's had his 2 best days of practices against the Jets, and a guy who Abdul is nasty, but he's been better than Abdul Carter the last 2 days. And I want Burns to kind of play up to what Abdul Carter is, how he's challenging him and being more consistent in his pass rush. As a guy who's been a really good player, but he's never been consistently top 10 as a pass rusher in those pass rusher metrics. It seems like this competition brought the most out of him, where I think he had 4 or so sacks over the last couple of days. I know he had a couple today, including one in that 1-minute drill they did at the end. So he's been awesome. What the one-on-one drills, I'm sure you focus in on that.
Yeah.
It was just the defensive ends were just kind of easy pickings. Even Kayvon was getting some nice wins, and Carter got his, but Burns was just nasty, including against Olu Fashanu, who I think is the best tackle that they've faced yet, really, and since training camp through preseason.
Yeah, I agree. Olufashinu with Burns, I think he had 2 reps against him, beat him cleanly on the first. The second one, I thought Fashanu did a good job eliminating the inside move, just framing and mirroring and keeping in front of him, getting his ass in between Burns in the pocket. So I would consider that a win for Fashanu. Carter, too, he split his reps against the player he went against. I think it might have been Armand Membu. And then the first one-on-one play was Kayvon Thibodeau. And I think that was against either Membu or Fashanu.
It was Membu.
And he started up the arc quickly, and Membu overset just a little bit, and then it was an inside swim move, and Membu just went flying up the pass rushing arc. It was an easy win for Kayvon. I don't think the Giants necessarily dominated those one-on-ones, but I would say it was like a split. And I think the Giants really dominated the 2v2s, the twist in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Giants won almost every single rep because you have a 97 just running through a center to open up a path for Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah, and you saw them use those in some of the team drills today, which you're not going to see a ton in preseason games. They're not going to be running games and twists, but you saw them get success. You saw Chauncey Golson get towards the quarterback, which you hadn't seen a ton from in training camp. So, any other defensive notes you want to clean up on before we move on to the offense?
I just wanted to ask your opinions on the depth defensive tackle. Just battle really at this point, because I don't really have it. The one player I'm really interested in is Rakeem Nunez-Roches because of the cap situation, because I want him on this team, and it's not necessarily because I think he's this excellent player. I just think he's steady Eddie when it comes to being a gap specialist and a run defender. He offers very little as a pass rusher, and I think the Giants might be in a position cap-wise where they're going to have to make a tough decision, and I don't know if they have enough depth to make the decision that they might want to make based off of what Rakeem Nunez-Roches offers the Giants.
Yeah, they can. And I'm going to answer I want Roy Robinson Harris in the preseason game. He had the really nice pass rush move against whoever that left guard was. And then the one where Carter fed it into him. So he had 2 quarterback hits. That's not enough for me to guess what? All training camp doesn't matter anymore. And it's the run defense I'm worried about with him, not necessarily pass rush. I was 30 seconds into your Darius Alexander cut up today in the parking lot before someone came and talked to me, and I wasn't able to finish it. I still have it bookmarked. What did you see out of him in the preseason game? What were your opinions on him?
There's no stats, but he's not necessarily I feel like there were positive plays there, but it's still apparent that he's not fully comfortable. He's not always where he needs to be. There were certain plays where he cut off an angle and shaded into the gap to force Frank Gore Jr. to just think and stop for a second, and then a cleanup player just went, backside pursuit player would go and just make that tackle. I think he had 2 plays like that. Overall, it was rather nondescript. He got tied up a lot in the game as well. I'm expecting that. Now, the things I like about Darius Alexander is monster size. He stood next to Dexter Lawrence today, and I was like, that's a grown man. Like, he has very long arms, and I do think he's a smart player, and I just think there's a lot on his plate right now because he had that slow start in minicamp and OTAs with whatever injury he ended up dealing with during that time. So I'm not gonna say it was an impressive performance. I don't think it was as negative as some people are making it out to be. I'm just kind of taking it slowly with him and hoping that we see a little bit more against the Jets, though.
Yeah, but that is a group. It's unbelievable that they have a position group has Dexter Lawrence, and I think it's the weakest on the team, depending on what level of play we get out of Paulson Adebo. All right. Before we talk about the offense and Russell Wilson, and Joe's got a question that we're going to get to as well, too. Joe, make sure you give us a live show update. I want to talk to you about Body Armor. This training camp is brought to you by Body Armor Sports Drink. Rewrite your routine and choose better with Body Armor. Body Armor is real hydration with electrolytes, coconut water, and no artificial dyes, flavors, or sweeteners. With the return, people talking about Body Armor, it's been a huge thing at training camp. With great tasting flavors like strawberry, banana, and orange mango. Body Armor. Can you hold the orange mango? Strawberry, banana, and orange mango. Body Armor will level up your hydration game. Grab Body Armor Sports Drink today at your local grocery store. Body Armor. Choose better. So I want to talk about there's not able to have these huge takeaways about the offense, like I said before, because no Malik Neighbors in these joint practices. Slayton was in and out. Thomas isn't back yet. Jermaine Illuminor had a baby last night, so he wasn't there today. And if you said that the offense is missing those 3 or 4 players, you're like, well, they're screwed. Like, it really doesn't even matter who's at quarterback unless it's, a top 5 quarterback in the league. They're going to be a bad offense. And I'm going to answer this question and from Joe of who is your most underrated player leaving camp and most overrated? Thanks for the camp coverage. It was elite. So I don't think there is like these huge candidates of overrated, underrated. Maybe you could say like Montrell Washington is like the most exciting one. And because of that, because he's so new, he gets overrated a little bit, even though I did like what I saw from him in the preseason game. He's got good movement skills. Russell Wilson without Malik Neighbors, though, I think is someone who you see where he is very much first read to check down. Now, that first read is deep down the field, and without these receivers, there's not much success he can have. But these last 2 practices, today he was 4 of 8 until they did a 1-minute drill where he had 4 checkdowns, and they had to kick a 60-yard field goal, which they missed. And then one time he ran. So he didn't really do anything positive. Didn't do anything hugely negative, but he didn't do anything positive when it came to a 1-minute drill. He did have a really nice seam pass to Greg Dulcich on a play action. That's awesome. Really like that. But and the red zone drill yesterday, you were there yesterday. He was good in that red zone drill. But there's been nothing over the last 2 days that showed that they could get to the red zone. And he had a 2-yard out route to Gunnar Olszewski, again, in a red zone drill. But there's been nothing over the last 2 days to say that they would have been in the red zone to have those good red zone performances besides running a drill. So you kind of see the downfalls of Russell Wilson. That being said, if Malik Neighbors is healthy, I think Russ is going to do a damn good job getting him the ball and getting the ball vertical and getting the ball to their checkdowns. He's going to take some sacks. But if you don't have Neighbors, it can be a real slog for them, which is kind of not a fair criticism. But I'll say that with Russ, where I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, he's the most overrated. But I think because it's not Daniel Jones, it's being counted as this crazy upgrade. And in reality, it's someone who's just going to get the ball to Malik Neighbors better, not going to spread it around a ton, and get to his checkdowns, and he's going to take some sacks as well.
Yeah, he's definitely going to take some sacks. He's not going to work the middle of the field all that well. The hope is with Malik Neighbors there, Russell Wilson is so advanced when it comes to his acumen and understanding what defenses are going to do based on his film study and the defensive tendencies and the leverage they're aligning with pre-snap, that he's going to have that first read that you talked about. He's going to know the success rate of that first read, and he'll be able to hit that first read. Now, he can get to a second read if he feels like he has time, but if not, he'll more than likely, as you said, get to that check down, which is a running back in the flat or whatever the hell it is, right?
Yeah.
But it's really his comprehension of the game of football that I'm most excited for. Because it's not like Russell Wilson has this top 5 arm or anything of that nature. I still think he throws a good deep ball and a good moon ball, as we all know. But a lot of that is outside the numbers type of an outside the number type of attack style. I would like him to be a little bit more proficient over the middle of the field, but he's never been that guy.
Yeah, and it's just kind of what you're signing up for Russ. So there's going to be times where Russ, I think, is going to have 3 touchdowns and completing the ball down the field because he's always done that. But there's going to be times where you're frustrated because the defense kind of has figured out what they're doing and disguising stuff pre-snap that Russ isn't, totally in tune with. So I don't think there is really a candidate for most. I mean, who would you say is someone who's like been overrated out of training camp? I mean, the only thing I could think of is Montrell Washington because maybe he doesn't even make the team, and then because of that, we're overrating his preseason performance because we always do fall in love with some preseason wide receiver.
Yeah, I would say Montrell's the first one to come to my mind because when you listen to what Brian Dable said about Montrell Washington, he made those good plays, but what is like the first thing he brought up?
Drops, yeah.
Drops. He's like, we left plays on the football field, and then he left the play on the football field yesterday as well in practice. And look, I don't know exactly what's going on with the New York Giants wide receiver room. I don't know what Jalen Hyatt's role is going to be. This guy caught like 8 passes last year. He's injured in training camp. So there's room for wide receivers, but if I had to pick one, it would be Bo Collins, who's receiving first-team reps, and now he's back healthy, and that would be the UDFA that I think is moving up. But to your question on underrated, I think it's just some of these defensive backs that are earning first-team reps because they're earning first-team reps and they're defensive backs. But let's not forget, I think we brought this up last stream, Bobby, the Giants have the 3rd priority spot when it comes to all the other teams cutting guys and the 53-man rosters, all the other teams be finalized. All the guys who are going to be tried to be slipped through the practice squad, the Giants are going to have the 3rd pickings to get whatever guy in the NFL that is. And that could be a cornerback. And then the Nick Joneses of the world, and the D. Williams of the world, I don't know how that's going to affect him, but it bodes well for Nick Jones that he's out there a lot now with the first team over the last few practices.
Right. Yeah. And again, that corner spot, we'll see what they do with waivers, but it's in a precarious place where you have 4 guys who are essentially locks. And then Nick Jones, like you said, he's been like the first backup at nickel corner. And with Drew Phillips down, he's been a starting nickel corner the last couple of days.
Special teams 1, 2. He's on the first team special teams kickoff.
Yeah, but then you have Trey Hawkins, who's in year 3, who they like. Corey Black, a 7th rounder. Both those guys haven't been practicing. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that corner.
I don't know what's going on with Corey Black.
No, and again, eventually you do have to cut a draft pick. That just eventually happens in all regimes. That hasn't happened yet with this one. I'm saying on their rookie cut down day. Yeah. So maybe Black just doesn't make the initial 53 and hangs around the practice or starts on IR or whatever. Like you said, I don't know. He's been gone for like over a week. So, so other offensive notes, Dart. There was a play where it's either a corner fell down or something. Again, it was on the far field, so it's hard to see. And you see him in the pocket, like direct. Bo Collins, go. I don't know if the corner fell on a curl or whatever, and finds Bo Collins for a touchdown. Outside of that, he was 4 for 8. A couple quick passes to Gunner and Smith-Marset. I think Dart in these Jets training camp practices, there's been nothing terrible, nothing fantastic, and both good and bad. Yesterday you obviously focused on the offense quite a bit, where I tried to spend some time on the defense. Where there was some good plays. There was a couple misses on what could have been his best plays. There was a ball over Dolch's head, and I think one over Gunner's. I think that's coming away from the preseason game too, and I'd be interested in your thoughts. I did a film breakdown on his preseason game. I know you guys did film work too. I felt like, despite it being basic coverages, the decision-making was fairly on point. Really, the negative was just he was inaccurate on like 4 or 5 passes.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 in particular was the throw behind Greg Dulcich and then the throw to little Jordan Humphrey. But there were also plays where he was in rhythm, and it was the quick game concepts, right? Like, I know that's so simple. Like, it seems simple and boring because it only results in 6 yards, but I want a quarterback to be able to operate that quick game concept, the feet, the hips, the eyes, the shoulders, everything pointing to where it needs to be pointed, and the football being placed on that outside shoulder or that inside shoulder, depending on whatever concept it is. And Dart did that relatively well, other than those 2 misses that I just went over, right? So, I mean, I've been impressed with Dart. And after I watched, I want to get your take on this. After I watched the All-22, I came away more enthused about Dart than I did on the broadcast. Now, not over the top enthusiasm, but still more enthused.
Well, I wouldn't say I got more with the All-22 because when you watch All-22, you get reminded of how basic preseason defenses are.
Cover 2, baby.
Yeah, it's just like there's no type of disguise or anything. They're when they're sending pressure, it's like a 5-man, cover 1 pressure. There's nothing crazy, so it's like, but it is passing a ball where it's like, all right, you at least know how to make the decisions versus the basic one and quick game. And I think Dart's had a successful training camp where there's been gradual progression. And again, those first 3 days, he looked terrible. He looked horrendous. He couldn't operate anything. He was late, and you're just not seeing that. Where like you didn't see him late in the preseason game. They ran that one Yankee concept with the deep post and the over, and it's like, hey, maybe get that ball in the middle of the field because of the way they the corner or the safety took that crosser away. But outside of that, there was nothing that's like, oh man, how did you not see this? I don't think there was one thing where I thought the decision was terrible in the preseason game.
I'm right there with you, Bobby. And that's exciting because we thought the reading of the defense, and again, it's rudimentary defense, but we thought the reading of the defense was going to be his biggest issue going from Lane Kiffin's offense to the NFL. And that hasn't necessarily, we haven't seen that. I haven't really seen that much in training camp either. What about you?
And Dable's done a good job of giving him the concepts he's comfortable with, right? Like they ran sail, flood, quite a bit.
I gotta say too, I love the fact that flood and sail are back in the playbook because those were just not really used with Daniel Jones at all.
And if they cover the front side, if you get to the backside dig, like if the front side's covered, a lot of time the backside is going to be open on that, but a lot of quarterbacks won't get to the backside of that. And that's what I said, that ball behind Dulcich, that was my favorite read of his on the day where it was man coverage. It was a 3rd and short situation, right? 3rd and 12, you might hang in there and try and throw that corner route. So he gets off it quick. They had like a little drive concept on the backside of it. Linebacker takes the shallow. He throws a dig. It was high or behind him, but that was my favorite decision of the day for him. I know the touchdown and him, audibling into the vertical was cool, but that was my favorite, like big boy decision of him because the audible's cool, but that's one of the more basic audibles you get is 3rd down, press man.
Exactly.
Put the outside receiver on a go.
And the previous play was the same thing. He just read the defense, saw it was the same. He took a shot to little Jordan Humphrey. It was tight coverage, and it wasn't completed.
Yeah, didn't they flip sides? Because Dable's a big fan of just run it back, flip the sides. Because I think the other one was the little Jordan Humphrey. Didn't it get tipped?
It either got tipped or went off. It was kind of hard to tell.
I can't remember which one it was.
It was on the right side of the field, so closer to you if you're watching it from the all 22 angle. And Dart put it up. It was catchable-ish, but it was really good coverage, I thought, by the defender. And then the next play, Dart checks the line of scrimmage, safety stays still, catches the snap, looks at the safety, holds him, and then just let it rip. And that time, little Jordan Humphrey won with his release and created some separation.
Yeah. All right, so let's get some questions. We're ending training camp 2025. I forgot the fight today was I should have got the clip for this. And shout out Jared who was sitting in front of me who airdropped me the clips. I should get his. You know what? I'm actually going to do that. So the fight wasn't anything crazy. I got to respond to Dan Duggan. How about 2 p.m.? Perfect. The fight wasn't anything crazy, but it was just good to see some little bit of a fight and then not end practice. Yeah. You also saw Dable get pissed off at, I think it was Eric Watts, one of the Jets' 3rd stringers. I think he's like a defensive end out of UConn last year. But no, it wasn't crazy faghting, which I kind of actually don't want to see a ton of fighting in joint practice. And their regular practices, like I want to see one day where they fight because it gets monotonous. But the joint practices where I just want to see them play. Like we don't need to fucking show it ourselves how tough we are because you can't actually tackle. But the fight wasn't crazy. I can't believe I didn't put the fight video on here. So let's get some questions here before we roll. What is your record prediction for the 2025 New York Giants? I need to get that on the graphic.
So I haven't put it out there with Big Blue Banter. Dan and I should be doing that soon. I'm going to say it's somewhere between 6 and 8 wins, I think is where I'm at.
Okay.
I'll give you that. What about you?
I'm not giving mine until the week 1 preview. So we saved that we saved that for the week 1 preview.
I the way I've said it to like friends and other people I just talked to about the Giants, I think the Giants will be more respectable because they're defense. There are certain things about there are certain things about the Giants that could significantly hold them back. 1 being quarterback, 2 being protection, 3 being their inability to stop the run and that affecting the.
You know what mine is? It's today, the injuries. Like I think if they're a couple injuries away from being a really bad team again, despite what the schedule is. So that's my big thing is it's the injuries. It's like if you lose one of Malik Neighbors, Andrew Thomas, or Dexter Lawrence, I think this team is in a lot of trouble. So that because if you lose Dexter Lawrence, the run defense, and I'll keep playing the fight clip as we talk, Like you guys said, like I said, it's nothing special.
Was James Hudson the guy involved?
No, James Hudson came in late.
Dang,
Marcus
sorry.
Bowe was the guy. Marcus Bowe was on the
Oh.
ground fighting someone who Marcus Bowe has been, he lost a one-on-one rep today, but like I thought he's been pretty damn impressive in these team drills. And that's against the guys like Will McDonald, who's, been a good pass rusher for the Jets. So I think Marcus Bowe's been really impressive. So it's just the injuries are my biggest concern, because it's again, one guy needs to go down for this team to get into a bad pit.
Yeah, I mean, there might be like 3 or 4 players on this team that are indispensable. So like something happens to one of them, it's like the entire operation could fall down. And you named 3 of them: Dex, Malik, and Andrew Thomas. And I'm glad that we have Bo as depth, because I wouldn't be shocked if Bo continues to work his way into the conversation to be that swing tackle. And then there is like say what you want about James Hudson, he's not anything special, quote unquote, but he's still, I would say, better competent depth than the Giants have had at tackle over the last 5-10 years or so.
Oh, you'd say he's better than Josh fucking Azudu?
Poor Josh. He's a good guy.
I know. Right? He's like, let's see. People are joking. Where did Ryan get his tan from? Also, could you see us picking any? Oh yeah, was there anybody that on the Jets that you're like would be a cut down guy that you're looking at?
The Jason Pinnocks of the world. I have not paid too close attention to that. I don't know their roster well enough. I think when it comes to who's going to make the team, but that's something I'll probably evaluate later on today and tomorrow.
Preseason game. Final prediction for games until Dart plays over under 8.5. I think both of us are going to take the over on that. Right? You don't see him playing the first 9 games. Dart?
No, I don't, unless something happened to Russ, but we still have Jameis there too.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to go roll. About to record an interview with Dan Duggan and then record the regular podcast for tomorrow. Make sure you listen to that. And then when you're listening to that, I'll be on my way back to Florida. Nick, thank you for jumping on and helping me out.
Always a pleasure, brother.
Thank you guys for supporting. I'll do all the thank yous on the end of the podcast today and not get too emotional on you. But it's been a fun training camp from start to finish. Here, you know what? It's the last second of the last live stream. Did you run into Talking Giants at practice? I did not. I know I've gotten that. That's probably been the most asked question. We did not run into each other. All right. That's a live stream. We'll see you guys when we see you. Make sure to check out the podcast tomorrow. Until then, let's go Big Blue.